King Charles III is here in Paris. We understand a star-studded royal dinner at the Palace of Versailles is in its final stages. And it comes after a day full of engagements around the French capital in the company of President Emmanuel Macron. The later wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at the Arc de Triomphe, followed by a procession along the Champs-Élysées. There's also a visit to Notre Dame, Versailles, of course, and to the Bordeaux vineyards on the royal schedule. The visit is seen as underlining a close bond that exists between Britain and France, in spite of issues raised by Brexit. Well, Lucy Carter is a lecturer in British history at the Université Paris Cité. She joins us now live. Lucy, thanks for being with us. King Charles in Paris. Tell us what you think this signifies.
Hi, good evening, Mark. It's actually Laura.
Laura, excuse me. Laura, excuse me.
Yeah, so no, thanks for having me. I think as you outlined in your introduction, this is very much a soft power moment, a moment to kind of underline that we're moving into this post-Brexit era. Obviously, there's been a new Prime Minister more recently in the UK with Rishi Sunak. And I think for Franco-British relations, the kind of end of the Liz Truss, Boris Johnson era is probably a good one. So I think this visit really is all about culture. If we look at the programme, I think it's really significant that they started off with that, with laying that wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier under the Arc de Triomphe. Of course, there's a parallel tomb of an unknown soldier in Westminster Abbey in London, and that's one of the kind of historic shared Franco-British symbols. So, so far so good, I think. A very kind of friendly cultural visit, ending with this extremely glamorous-looking banquet in Versailles tonight.
Indeed, the banquet's one thing. The tribute to the unknown soldier, of course, something that resonates with many families across both countries, as you point out. Emmanuel Macron has said that Charles III's visit is it's a tribute to our past and a guarantee of our future. And then he went on to talk about meeting the challenges despite Brexit. That was the translation I saw. Do you see that as obviously a very important thing here? This is going some way to mending some of those problems that exist. Well, at least put a sticking plaster on it.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I think so many of the issues around Brexit have come down to very fraught policies. The issue of boats in the Channel, the issue of immigration. And this is all about the bigger picture, I think. And so a post-Brexit era for France and Britain can look forward to kind of more positive bilateral relations. I know that Brigitte and Camilla are going to be launching a Franco-British literary prize. So perhaps that future also looks like more specific initiatives between France and Britain instead of Britain and the EU as it was.
You anticipated my next question, Laura. It was about Brigitte Macron and Queen Camilla. What you see happening there? Obviously, clearly you've mentioned the prize, but the two women, on the face of things, seem to get on extremely well.
Yeah, I guess they're not so far apart in age and generation, so they probably have common reference points there. I think it's always hard to say with these events. I mean, these people are kind of in a way at work, so they're putting their best foot forward. But yeah, they're playing a role in supporting their partners as state leaders, and they have an important role to play. I think the few people around Paris I've spoken to today are just as interested in Camilla as they are in King Charles III. And I think it's also significant that, of course, King Charles' first wife, Diana, lost her life in Paris all those years ago. So Camilla's really stepping into a role in a city where her kind of predecessor is very well known and sometimes associated with Paris as well.
Indeed, that imagery, of course, is very vivid indeed. The whole issue regarding the king coming to the Republic raises other questions too. And I don't know whether you've noticed this, but I've certainly noticed that many French people, Republicans, seem to have a fascination for the British royal family. Can you read anything into that or give us a take on that?
Oh, I mean, lots of people have got opinions on this. The French perhaps don't want a monarchy, but they like to have the kind of glitz and glamour occasionally of having a royal visit. I think that's probably true of a lot of Republican countries that welcome royal families. Let's not forget that this visit was postponed. It was supposed to take place in March, and one of Macron's reasons were the critiques around him hosting a lavish event, and he might look like a king at Versailles at a time when there was so much unrest around the pension reforms and the cost of living crisis. So I certainly don't think he wants to see himself in the kind of royal glow, but I do think the public enjoy that glow from time to time in France.
Laura Carter, lecturer in British history at the Paris Cité Université. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your analysis and your insight with us here in France 24. I apologise about my glitch at the beginning of introducing you there, but you're quite right to point out the error, and I'm more than happy to correct it. So Laura Carter there joining us.